The scale of human impact on the earth has reached alarming levels, which threatens the long-term progress against poverty and the well-being of rich and poor nations alike. Many natural resources and ecosystems essential for human and societal well-being are being destroyed, such as biodiversity, air and land pollution, water shortage, and deforestation, among others. With less than 10 years left to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, world leaders at the SDG Summit in September 2019 called for a decade action and delivery of sustainable development and pledged to mobilizing, financing, the enhancement of national implementation and the strengthening of institutions to achieve the goals by the target 2030.
This rise in ocean heat last year is more than 20 times the amount of energy humanity has consumed since 2000. Meanwhile, as permafrost disappears and the Strunda thaws earlier and freezes later, vast amounts of methane, a far more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide, enter the atmosphere, accelerating global warming.
Though the world is making progress towards affordable and clean energy, there is a need to focus attention on improving access to cleaner and safer cooking fuels and technology. Despite an increased access since 2010 at an annual rate of 0.5 percentage points, reaching 61% of the global population in 2017. This is considered to be too slow to meet the Sustainable Development Goals target that still leaves nearly 3 billion people dependent on inefficient cooking systems that lead to pollution and which causes nearly 4 million premature deaths each year. On the global agenda, we explore the development opportunities across the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, from no poverty, reduced inequalities, gender equality, climate change, and more. Goal 4 is aimed at ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and the promotion of lifelong learning opportunities for all. Education enables upward socio-economic mobility and is key to escaping poverty. 262 million children and adolescents were still out of school in 2017. Nearly 1/5 of the global population is in that age group. 64 million were children of primary school age, 61 million adolescents of lower secondary age, and 138 million youth of upper secondary school age.
The name Education in Bottle was coined out from the fact that if we are to meet up with the SDG goal number 4 by 2030, we need to look at alternative means, of bringing children, back to school, because the statistic is quite overwhelming. We have close to 13 million children out of school. So we are looking at how to use alternative means to bring them back to school through, building learning centers, especially for this community that don't have school.
Many students with disabilities who are in school are excluded from learning because the curriculum has not been adapted to their needs or do not have access to assistive devices necessary for their learning needs. Inclusive education is designed to remove barriers from the educational system, encouraging access to equal education for all learners. It sits on the notion that it is more effective for students with special needs to have mixed experiences, leading to more success in social interaction and the future. According to the International Journal of Education, Learning and Development of May 2017, result findings concluded that obstacles militating against successful implementation of inclusive education for special needs children included social, economic, and emotional factors such as discrimination and negative attitude of society to students, unadaptable school environments, and financial constraints.
Every sector needs to understand what disability is, and we need to understand what are their needs, what are the things we need to put in place to make sure they are fully included in all that we're doing, beyond just let's just give them a quota, let's just try and help them somehow, let's give them hands down. They can't. Let's see the human being in them first. Let's see their intellectual capability. Let's know how we can move ourselves, move our space, move our presence to fit into how they can function in our society. And that will be the beginner stage, which is the preparatory stage. We all have to be prepared. The access to the building itself, the ramp. Thank God for the
accessibility.
Yes, accessibility to the building, and thank God for the the act in place already.
Yeah.
So when we look at all of those things, what are the things we can put? How can we really accept and prepare them for inclusive education? Now, when they're there, are we really including them? That's a question. We will give them all that they need. We'll beg, we'll move, we will do things to ensure that they learn, and they learn for sure. When we've done that, they will now progress. We'll monitor what we're doing. Are we doing it right or not? If you're saying we are providing accommodation for children with special needs, for example, if a child cannot write, we're going to have him type out. We're going to have him talk about what he's trying to express during the classroom or during the assessment in the classroom. Then during external examination too, that same accommodation will be provided for that child in external examination. So it has to be holistic, and we all have to be ready to embrace inclusive education. The majority of the challenges we face is how do we manage these children? How do we get them educated? So that lack of knowledge of how to practice inclusive education is a big one, and then the financial implication on the parents and the school is another big one.
The United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities recognizes the right to inclusive education for all. It states that there must be establishment of structures for education, accessible buildings, curriculum adjustments, institutions, and strengthening of laws, policies to ensure we all play our part in creating and preserving inclusive education for all.
Well, inclusive education, where we are in the country, is I would say that yes, we've achieved the policy. The policy has been formulated and approved, and I think that's the only place where we are. Implementation is the next step, and we haven't scratched it, apart from the fact that there are states and a few institutions who have taken it upon themselves to start the implementation process. But if you ask me, generally speaking, officially, we're just at policy level. Implementation has not started. And I think a program like yours is a platform to further advocate for the implementation of the national policy on inclusive education. Nigeria is the second country in Africa to formulate the policy on inclusive education after South Africa. And South Africa has gone far in terms of implementation. There have been other countries that even borrowed a leaf from Nigeria that have surpassed us in terms of implementation. So, as far as I'm concerned, we're just on the drawing board. Yes, we have a policy. A policy without implementation is a piece of paper that is on the shelf. And we need to implement the very program, policy that federal government of Nigeria signed at the UN level, that they are going to implement it.
If we can consider them as part of us, we will prepare for them. And we don't even have any choice than to prepare for them now. We don't. When you have people with a hearing problem, you have people with visual problem, and all that. You see, in life, we all pray that we don't get disabled. But the truth of the matter is that so far you are still living, anybody can be disabled.
That's very correct.
So we should have that love for one another.
Children of today are leaders of tomorrow. Education is a very important weapon to prepare children for their future roles as leaders of the community. Leave no one behind. Thank you for joining me on the Global Agenda. I am Ukeme Etuknwa.